HICGI News Agency is still here in Baku, Azerbaijan, where heads of state from all over the world in more than 100 countries are expected today. We are yet to understand their passion or resilience towards climate change. Of course, there have been fears that the big powers, who are the major pollutants of our planet, are succumbing from attending this important convention. Of course, there have been voices about their concerns and whether they should be in position to adhere to the resolutions of the past COP28, the Protocol, the Paris Agreement, and all these that are happening. Let's go straight to what is happening today. Of course, we're expecting the Secretary General of the United Nations, António Guterres, to welcome his guests from all over the world, heads of state, and of course there'll be some primaries and discussions and dialogues as we are yet to see. My name is Chivumbi Ernest Benjamin here in Azerbaijan on behalf of HICGI News Agency.
Excellencies, we used to talk about climate action as being mostly about saving future generations. But there's been a seismic shift in the global climate crisis, because the climate crisis is fast becoming an economy killer right now, today, in this political cycle. Climate impacts are carving up to 5% off GDP in many countries. The climate crisis is a cost of living crisis, because climate disasters are driving up costs for households and businesses. Worsening climate impacts will put inflation on steroids unless every country can take bolder climate action. Let's learn the lessons from the pandemic, when billions suffered because we didn't take the collective action fast enough, when supply chains were smashed. Let's not make that mistake again. Climate finance is global inflation insurance. Rampant climate costs should be public enemy number one. Letting this issue languish halfway down cabinet agendas is a recipe for disaster. But this isn't just about saving your economies and your people. Bolder climate action can drive economic opportunity and abundance everywhere. Cheap, clean energy can be the bedrock of your economies. It means more jobs, more growth, less pollution choking cities, healthier citizens, and stronger citizens, stronger businesses. Billions of people simply cannot afford for their government to leave COP29 without a global climate finance goal. So for leaders here and back in capitals, make it clear that you expect a strong set of outcomes. Tell your negotiators, skip the posturing and move directly to finding common ground. Bring those positions together. We also need your direct engagement on new national climate targets and plans, NDCs. So all of you can benefit from the boom in clean energy and climate resilience. These are not easy times, but despair is no strategy, and it's not warranted. Our process is strong, and it will endure. After all, international cooperation is the only way humanity survives global heating. The time for hand-wringing is over, so let's get on with the job. I thank you.
Thank you, Executive Secretary. It is my singular pleasure to invite His Excellency Philemon Yang, President of the United Nations General Assembly, to deliver.
President Aliyev, I thank you, the COP-President Mukhtar Babayev, and the government of Azerbaijan for your welcome and hospitality. The Presidents can count on our full cooperation in your efforts to achieve the successful COP we all need. Excellencies and friends, the sound you hear is the ticking clock. We are in the final countdown to limit global temperature rise to 1.5 degrees Celsius, and time is not on our side. Exhibit A 2024, with the hottest day on record and the hottest months on record, this is almost certain to be the hottest year on record. And the masterclass in climate destruction. Families running for their lives before the next hurricane strikes. Biodiversity destroyed in sweltering seas. Workers and pilgrims collapsing in insufferable heat. Floods tearing through communities and tearing down infrastructure. Children going to bed hungry as droughts ravage crops. And all these disasters and more are being supercharged by human-made climate change. And no country is spared. In our global economy, supply chain shocks raise costs everywhere. Decimated harvests push up food prices everywhere. Destroyed homes increase insurance premiums everywhere. And this is a story of avoidable injustice. The rich cause the problem, the poor pay the highest price. Oxfam finds the richest billionaires emit more carbon in an hour and a half than the average person does in a lifetime. Now, unless emissions plummet and adaptation soars, every economy will face far greater fury. But there is every reason to hope. Excellencies, at COP28, all you agreed to move away from fossil fuels, to accelerate net zero energy systems, setting milestones to get there, to boost climate adaptation, and to align the next round of economy-wide national climate action plans, or NDCs, with 1.5 degree limit. It's time to deliver. Humanity is behind you. A poll by the University of Oxford and the United Nations Development Programme finds that 80% of people around the world want more climate action. Scientists, activists, and young people are demanding change. They must be heard, not silenced. And the economic imperative is clearer and more compelling. With every renewables rollout, every innovation, and every price drop. Last year, and for the first time, the amount invested in grids and renewables overtook the amount spent on fossil fuels. And almost everywhere, solar and wind are the cheapest source of new electricity. So doubling down on fossil fuels is absurd. The clean energy revolution is here. No group, no business, and no government can stop it. But you can and must ensure it is fair and fast enough to limit global temperature rise to 1.5 degrees Celsius. And I urge you to focus on three priorities. First, emergency emissions reductions. To limit global temperature rise to 1.5 degrees Celsius, we must cut global emissions 9% every year. By 2030, they must be down 43% on 2019 levels. Unfortunately, they are still growing at the present moment. Now, at this COP, you must agree to rules for fair, effective carbon markets that support that fight. Yesterday, you made an important first step. You must build on it by agreeing rules for markets that respect the rights of local communities and leave no space for greenwashing or land grabbing. By next COP, you must deliver new economy-wide national climate action plans. And you have agreed that your new plans will align with 1.5 degrees. That means they must cover all emissions and the whole economy. Advance global goals to triple renewables capacity, double energy efficiency, and halt deforestation by 2030. To slash global fossil fuel production and consumption 30% by the same date. And to align national energy transition strategies and sustainable development priorities with climate action to attract the needed investment. All these must be achieved in line with the principle of common but differentiated responsibilities and respective capabilities in the light of different national circumstances. But all countries must do their part, and the G20 must lead. They are the largest emitters with the greatest capacities and responsibilities. They must bring their technological know-how together with developed countries supporting emerging economies. And every nation must have the tools and resources for climate action. And the United Nations is ready to support that effort every step on the way. We are supporting developing countries with new NDCs through the Climate Promise Initiative, and striving for justice in the renewables revolution through our panel on critical energy transition minerals. But ultimately, only you can deliver on national ambition and action. Only you can beat the clock on 1.5 degrees. Excellencies, second, you must do more to protect your people from the ravages of the climate crisis. The most vulnerable are being abandoned to climate extremes. The gap between adaptation needs and finance could reach up to $359 billion a year by 2030. And these missing dollars are not abstractions on a balance sheet. They are lives taken, harvests lost, and development denied. Now more than ever, finance promises must be kept, and developed countries must race the clock to double adaptation finance to at least $40 billion a year by 2025. Adaptation investments can transform economies, driving progress across the Sustainable Development Goals. We need countries' new climate action plans to set out adaptation financing needs. And we need every person on Earth to be protected by an alert system by 2027, in line with our early warnings for all initiatives. And we need climate justice, particularly a surge in pledges to the new loss and damage funds and commitments turning into cash with finance pouring into the fund's coffers. But we also need a fundamental step change across the board. And so, Excellencies, the third priority is finance. Developing countries eager to act are facing many obstacles: scant public finance, raging cost of capital, crashing climate disasters, and debt servicing that soaks up funds. The result? Adaptation denied and a tale of two transitions. Last year, developing and emerging markets outside China received just 15 cents per every dollar invested in clean energy globally. COP29 must tear down the walls of climate finance. Developing countries must not leave Baku empty-handed. A deal is a must, and I'm confident it will be reached. We need a new finance goal that meets the moment. And 5 elements are critical to success. First, a significant increase in concessional public finance. Second, a clear indication of how public finance will mobilize the trillions of dollars developing countries need. Third, tapping innovative sources, particularly levies on shipping, aviation, and fossil fuel extraction, based on the principle that polluters must pay. And force a framework for greater accessibility, transparency, and accountability, giving developing countries confidence that the money will materialize. First, boosting lending capacity for bigger and bolder multilateral development banks. And I hope some good news will come. That requires a major recapitalization and requires reforms of their business models, including so that they can leverage far more private finance. The resources available may seem insufficient, but they can be multiplied with a meaningful change in how the multilateral system works. Big sums require big change. The COP29 outcome must build on the Pact for the Future, agreed by consensus in New York in September, and drive progress. And I urge the major MDB shareholders to use their position to push for change. There is no time to lose. On climate finance, the world must pay up, or humanity will pay the price. Excellencies, in this crucial period, you and your governments must be guided by a clear truth. Climate finance is not charity, it's an investment. Climate action is not optional, it's an imperative. Both are indispensable to a livable world for all humanity and a prosperous future for every nation on Earth. The clock is ticking. I count on you, and I thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary General. It is a pleasure to invite Ms. Maimouna Mohd Sharif, Mayor of Kuala Lumpur and former Executive Director of the United Nations Human Settlements Program, to the podium to share her remarks.
On the sidelines of the ongoing COP29 of the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change here in Azerbaijan, HSCI News Agency has been joined by a global citizen from Jordan. How are you, sir?
I'm good, thank you.
Could you tell us what should be done, especially when the world and the planet is being threatened, humanity is being threatened by global warming, climate change? What is your perspective?
So I think that the countries should work together and should spend more money to fight against this, let's say, the global warming. So we have seen the temperature is getting increased everywhere in the world, and this is affecting everyone. So we have some people died because of it, and I think by every country can help each other, each country to investigate and to invest more to try to avoid this situation.
And do you think big powers should spend much more money in fighting climate change? Because those ones who are complaining that for us we're not doing much more against, and those who are doing much more emissions and all that. Do you support the motion?
Yeah, of course. If the big leaders if the big leaders is not helping, so who's going to help, right? And we're expecting this from the leaders from everywhere, from every country. And I think by planting more green areas, this is going to help us, and this is going to reduce this global warming, or decrease the temperature everywhere, right? And this is just one aspect if we talk about global warming, but of course we have flooding, we have other things which it can be avoided if we if the countries spend more money or focus on this aspects, right?
And what's your final message to the people of Jordan, where you come from? Are you planting trees? What are you doing to protect the environment?
Yes, of course. So in Jordan we have we are planting more areas, and we are we have more green areas now, and we have a plan. So it's of course, Jordan affected from the nature of this temperature increased, and people suffered a lot. So our leaders are working this to avoid it.
You've just heard from one of the global citizens, and it's been a quite busy day. United Nations Secretary General has called upon doubling, if not, it is more than doubling, because it's been 100 billion, but now wants to make it 40, it's been 10 billion, wants to make it 40 billion US dollar, if I'm not mistaken, between now and next year for climate. Of course, there have been voices from the UN, UNFSC, our executive secretary, also asking for more funding, and of course the outgoing COP28 president from the Arab Emirates, who said they delivered, but a lot more has to be done. And we'll be bringing you more voices from global leaders who have spoken clearly and what they are going to give to the package. But of course, there have been disappointments by big powers that they have not turned up to this convention. Important United States, Russia, or China, big powers who are polluting and contributing more 70% towards the environment. But there of course been many who have turned up, as you have just watched. My name is Chief Roby, and it's Benjamin from HIC News Agency in Baku Azerbaijan.